There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, you gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with a Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Tudo bem? Como estás? How are you today? I've had quite a strange experience overnight. I decided that one thing I could change quite powerfully in my life was the amount of time I sleep, which I think is actually quite an important thing to do. So I was in bed early last night at about 11:30. Would you believe? In recent times, I don't know about you, I'm getting 6 hours sleep, something like that. At the weekend, sometimes I'll lie in and it feels like I need it. But last night, I decided to have a long sleep, which is at least 7 hours scheduled, turned into 8. And isn't it weird and ironic that on the morning or the evening before, where I decide to sleep more, I nearly oversleep. You would think, wouldn't you, that going to bed and only having 5 or 6 hours would mean I might oversleep. Turns out, treated myself to some extra kip overnight and nearly overslept this morning. So I'm glad to be here, quite frankly. And I'm interested in your sleep habits. I think it's important. You know, it would appear important, wouldn't it, to health? Also listening in conjunction with that thought, listening to the Diary of a CEO podcast, which I'm not entirely sure about. Is it just jealousy that he's got 10 gazillion? What was that joke yesterday? The dad joke from James Holly. Oh, Sicilian. He's got 10 million Sicilian podcast listeners. Is it Stephen Bartlett? He certainly has some very good guests on there. And I was listening to a woman talking about fasting. And that interested me. So that was a good head start on the fasting thing. Should I do that as well? 8 hours of not eating. Because unless I was eating my pillow or something like that, that's a very good head start in the old fasting stakes. And it certainly makes a lot of sense. Coach Turner, I know you've got a God score tip of the day for us. I'm sure you advise your athletes to sleep well and rest and repair their bodies too, as an important part of your advice to people. Wonder what you think about fasting. Louise is here, nice and early. I've been loading up your pictures that you very kindly sent to us. I thought you were that was an expletive in your comment and message to us this morning, Louise. But no, it's Bon dia Alegria, final stages of repairing an old schist wall damaged by the winter rains. Something doesn't sound quite right to me this morning. Does it sound okay where you are? Yeah, I think we are using the technology in the way we usually use it. I'm just not hearing things in quite the same way through the cans. Maybe it's that extra hours or extra hour and a half, maybe, of sleep that's made a difference. Maybe my life has changed in huge ways that I'm yet to discover this morning. Anyway, how's it going? Great to see the wise men of the Gumpocalypse assembled and ready, warming the place up for us, like the caretakers of the community, being here nice and early in the morning. Oh, Bobby, good morning to you. I'm in bed by 10 every night. You've got 10 a.m. there, Bobby. That is a lot of sleep. Unless you're staying up really late and you don't go to bed, a bit like having to, like Monty Python. Things were so tough in them days. We had to get up before we went to bed at 10 a.m. every night. I think that's probably a typo, isn't it? And you're in bed by 10. I've got you down as a bit of a party animal, but it would appear you like an early night as well. I'm gonna do my best to get to bed earlier and to bring into play the new exercise regime that we're working on. I think it's an important part of health to have a good night's sleep. So that was a good start. But You know, if I wanted to make a fuss about it, I could say this getting enough sleep is not good for you. It makes you oversleep, which is nearly what happened this morning. Pam's in as well. Good morning to you, Bobby. I hope everything went well for you yesterday. Good morning, Pam. T-Duck, always asleep at 9:30. I was asleep at 9:30 as usual. 9:30. I was still very busy. I think I was having dinner last night at 9:30. There's certainly a habit to have a little go out there. Hola, bon dia todos. Still Portimao ensolarada. Sunny in Southend. We've got 21 degrees here. Very, very pleasant. Not too sunny this morning in San Martino de Porto, looking out the window of the studio here. But it does certainly feel humid again. It was a hot day yesterday, that's for sure, here on the Silver Coast. Wasn't it, Pam, who's also with us today? Bon dia. What's happening, Pam? I enjoyed your Pogues T-shirt yesterday. How's it looking weather-wise over there? And have the festivities started? Have they come and gone? That's what can happen in a Portuguese town. Gearing up for a festa, turn your back for a moment, and it's all done and dusted. Some, however, do last for 3 weeks. It feels like 3 years, some of them. Can't sleep for more. This is interesting. As well as showing you a range of mobile phones this morning, which of these did you have? Bobby O'Reilly. I'm guessing, Bobby, you had number one and have had one of each throughout the ages ever since. T-Duck possibly similarly as well. I came into the scene, mobile phone scene, probably around number 2. Might have had one of those Sonys. I recognized the brands. I had a flip phone for sure and have had an iPhone in the past. Not had a BlackBerry. Mrs. M had a BlackBerry when I met her. I thought she was a proper yuppie when I first met her with her phone choice, certainly. But look at those. Where did you start your telephone career? I'm thinking the slug might have started with number 2 and still have that phone in the way that he eschews some parts of progress and makes do. He's that kind of guy from what I know. So let us know, where did you begin your phone career? Looking at that chart. Sorry, podcast listeners, that is a difficult one for you if you're watching the podcast. But we're going from the brick at number 1 to actually number 10 is not the most recent iPhone either, is it? But you get the gist, the trajectory, the chronology of mobile phones. Which are you? Which were you? And do you still have that brick phone, or did it have to go back on a lease back in the late 90s? Was it when those were knocking about? Mid-90s, maybe. I wasn't going to show you that. I was going to show you something else, but I forget what that was now this morning. Anyway, I'm sure it'll come back. If it was important, I will recall, won't I? Louise has sent in some fabulous pictures. We've got Jason to come at 9 o'clock. It's the Quinta crew checking in. Matty might like to say hi as well. And of course, a McGrady moment at around 1:45. Oh, I better give the link to Louise in case you want to join us, Louise, this morning. Yes, we've got the baker of Al Gibraltar. You managed to park then, did you, in the end? Oh, fantastic. A bit of video. I did post up something last night on Facebook. Do not accept the offer to hide in the oven. I think you all know now, don't you, what that's about? But you'll see why in just a moment, thanks to Pam, who sent a fabulous bit of video. And Louise, where are you, Louise, in the WhatsApp scheme of things here? Been very busy, clearly, over there on WhatsApp overnight. I mean, things get buried very quickly there on the WhatsApp. I'm trying to find. That's because I've got you down as Paul, Louise, and Lottie. That's what I couldn't see. All right, I'm sending you the link now on WhatsApp, just in case you do want to join us. And you sent us a lovely selection of pictures for the Quinta Crew special this morning. Of a special interest this morning, this show what are we? We're the second Tuesday already of the month, where Jason joins us from Quinta Essencial, maybe a bit of a tour, letting us know what's happening with the shop. And the green-thumbed, green-fingered ones. I know Americans say green-thumbed, don't they? Green-fingered. Whichever you are, green-fingered, green-thumbed, if your whole hands are green, or brown, probably more likely, because of the dirt, which you Americans say, compared to compost or soil. Yes, if that's your scene, if you've got a Quinta, even if you haven't, even if you just like a bit of Quinta porn, as it were, of seeing people growing their own, you have come to the right place this morning. That's what we do, checking in with Jason and checking in with McGrady, a Lee McGrady moment. Will it be a moan or will it be a motivation? You decide. when he joins us in a couple of minutes. Actually, I've been gabbling on for far too long, but yeah, this is interesting. This sleep thing, people letting us know how much they sleep and which iPhone or which mobile phone they had. Tamara, good morning to you. Nice to see you here. Hi. Never had an iPhone, loved my BlackBerry, and now I am all in on Samsung Galaxy. Yeah, they're a good phone. I think I've got one of the Galaxies at the moment. Never had an iPhone, says Garvo, because I have a dislike of Apple products, but I don't really know why, to be honest. Well, there's a prejudice that has been challenged, smashed this morning, and he might be running down or even camping outside an Apple shop soon to get the latest phone. My first mobile, says Pam, was not the massive brick, but the size of a large remote. Battery lasted 2 hours maximum. Happy times. And Ubi, I saw you on Stuart KTL Amigos. I saw you on the Spain Speaks live stream yesterday. He calls you Ubi as well, doesn't he? Good morning, KTL. I'm delighted not to sleep through this morning's live cast. Well done. Thank you very much. It's not gone unnoticed. Correct on number 2, but much smaller. See, I knew it. Fantastic. Part of the whole biorhythms thing. Okay, well, we'll come back to conversations about sleep because Lee's here now. Let's give him a nice big round of applause. Mr. McGrady. The breakfast of champions, I see.
Good morning, mate.
How are you?
Not bad.
Having a little moment, I think. The sun is shining through into the van. You're having a smoke, starting the day before, girding your loins, basically, before getting into town, right? And a busy working day, I'm guessing.
I've got a busy working day on, yeah. But I was going to do it from the cafe as usual, but there's a team of builders in.
Oh, outrageous. How dare they?
They've got that Portuguese ability to not to have a quiet conversation.
I see.
There's
what you
5
mean.
a minute, and it's like a football stadium in there. They've had to come out to the van.
Yes, we all know the vibe you're talking about, and you think, okay, well, they've quietened down for a moment. I can get on the live stream, and next thing you know, they're washing the pots, aren't they, or chucking the coffee cups around by the coffee machine. Yeah. And then, yeah. Well, thank you very much. It does seem very peaceful where you are right now. This is your sanctuary, isn't it, in a working day?
Pardon?
This is your sanctuary of a working day. Get in the van, have a bit of a moment.
No, it's getting worse. It's starting to annoy me a little bit.
What is?
The morning traffic in August is amazing. I can cross the bridge in 20 minutes. It's fantastic. But the beach traffic this weekend has been horrendous. And trying to get back over the bridge in the evening is just, yeah.
Oh, that's because normally as well, you're going against the flow of the traffic, aren't you? But you're not with the beaches. You're in the same flow, aren't you, of people coming to and from the beaches? Yeah,
it's fantastic in the mornings, but at night it's a nightmare. I ended up having to stay at Eusebios for a couple of hours last week and had a few beers because I just couldn't face the bridge.
Or so you say. Right. Okay. So it sounds like to me, I mean, I recognize this feature, Lee, after you were moaning about the wheelie bins last time, that this McGrady moment. Is it motivational or is it a bit of a moan? It sounds like a bit of a moan this morning.
No, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying you said the van was a sanctuary. I'm just saying it's not always that way.
Right. Okay. I don't know if people...
There's some drives on where I put a podcast on and I'm just cruise home and it's nice and tidy. But yeah, if you move into Portugal, just be aware that the bridge traffic is an issue. Everyone needs to work it out and be prepared for it.
Do you ever go around on the other bridge, or is that just too far out of the way?
No, I'm adding an hour on. I might as well sit in traffic rather than do that. And what about the ferry? And then there's extra tolls to take into account as well. So.
And there is a ferry, of course, but not a lot of people know that. There is a ferry, isn't there, that will take a vehicle across the water?
I'm not taking the van on a ferry.
Why not? It'd be like going on holiday every morning.
I mean, you'd end up. I've crossed the ferry a couple of times, and when I've hiked, I've done some walks on this side of the river. When I've got the train out and then walked back to Lisbon. I've done the ferry a few times, and it's quite nice. But the timing, especially at weekends, the timing for the ferries are a bit hit and miss.
Yes.
You think they'd be busier at weekend with the tourism, but they actually on a Sunday they're doing like 1 an hour.
Oh, really? Oh, that's not good. But it is an exciting thing to do once in your life, almost like a bucket list thing. People think, the way to get across the bridge is the way to get across the water is on the bridge. There is a ferry. I think it's at Trafaria or somewhere like that, a bit further towards open seas where you can get the ferry across the water at Lisbon.
If you're not in a rush, if you've got the day to kill, getting a ferry over the river is absolutely great. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
They're clean, they're fairly cheap.
Yes.
And it's a nice 20-minute ride out.
Yeah.
But at the end of a work day, you don't want to be getting a ferry.
Well, good luck with all of this beach traffic. When is it likely to come to return to normal? We're talking about 1st of September, like clockwork, and you'll be back in business.
Yeah, it's when the kids go back to school, the beach traffic calms down a bit.
Yeah,
and then that's the best time to go onto the beach, really. September, October.
Yes.
Yeah. We get some cracking days in October, and the beaches are dead. You get the beach to yourself midweek. It's beautiful.
Great? And for 2 or 3 months thereafter, it's still comfortable, isn't it, on the beach? For a northerner like yourself, you're probably there in December anyway. Oh, and there's the train. There's a train, Lee. Although with you and your kit, this is what people in London are about to face, isn't it? A similar professional to yourself in London facing the
You're breaking up a bit, mate.
Oh, okay. So a gardener like yourself in London at the moment is thinking, should I not pay this 12 quid a day to take my van into down the end of my street, basically, and take my strimmer and other tools on the train or bus with me? The train, not an option for Lee McGrady here. I can't, although you get a lot more work if you did that, you'd be a lot more visible to the public. But that could be a little bit inconvenient there. But thanks for the tip, Bobby. Gary Garvo says to you, Lee, you've got some blisteringly hot days coming your way, Lee, in the capital. Not good strimming weather. What's the deal with strimming at the moment, Lee, with the fire risk and so on? What can people do and not do at the moment?
I was strimming on Saturday in an orchard in Palmella, and that was ridiculous. It got up to 39 mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
It was hard work. A full day of strimming is never fun to start with, but using nylon twine is fine. It's just no disc work, no metal work.
Okay, that's the distinction, isn't it? Because the metal strimmers can cause a spark and start a fire, so be careful. I mean, not many people have got metal strimmers at home, have they?
Yeah, a lot of the strimmers that are for sale in Portugal, they come with a disc as well.
Oh, okay. All right.
And they're fantastic for winter work. They're fantastic for doing brambles with and small whips and trees.
Yeah.
But I don't use them. The vibration that they cause in the machine's just not comfortable.
Okay.
So I'd rather do it with a set of loppers or a secateurs in my back pocket.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
And just nip them down.
All right, so it's the Quinta Crew Day, the update from the fields and farms of Portugal, and of course the gardens where Lee is concerned. What's going on in the gardens at the moment, Lee? I mean, we're getting the best of the fruit, aren't we now?
The fruit's coming on nice. The plums are doing quite well. The plum trees are racing away. The lemons are just coming on. But yeah, it's going to be the same thing every time this time of year. Irrigation systems are just essential. You need to be checking them all the time. And if you think you're giving it a couple of minutes.
Okay. Sorry, you broke up a bit there. What, you need to give them an extra couple of minutes at this time of year?
Now, can you still hear me?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people have the irrigation system set for late at night and early in the morning when they don't actually see it.
Yeah.
They don't see it working. So just be really mindful that you got to just check and make sure everything's getting enough water.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's important. Great time for fruit, and a little bit of a concern. Lee is saying there with making sure that your irrigation system, because you only got to go a day or two, haven't you? If you don't water things, they're all going to perish and die. Another thing that I saw on Facebook, Lee, was friend Suzanne, who I saw at the Wildflowers gig, says something is very wrong this year with the fruit in Portugal. Even the commercial orchards that spray their crops regularly are also facing this problem. The fruit this year are almost all rotten inside, totally destroyed, and falls to the ground before ripe. So is there some sort of climatic condition or a pest or an insect that's destroying fruit from the inside?
I've not come across any issues yet. But we're still quite early because we're not commercial, and we're not forced to put the trees on. So I've not seen any issues yet. But
Okay.
I did mention last month that there's been a massive lack of bees this year, and a massive amount of wasps.
Okay.
So maybe things are a little out of kilter with the bad spring that we had, because we had no real rain this spring.
Okay.
That's still affecting a lot of things. And people look at the lawns now, and they look at the gardens now, and they're thinking, why is everything struggling? It's because it didn't get a really good start in the spring, in April and May.
Yeah.
So maybe the fruit trees are just suffering a little bit because they had a poor start to the year.
Okay.
And they're just shedding some of the fruit. It happens quite regular though with fruit trees. If you get a bad start to the year, the tree will shed a percentage of the fruit just to protect the bigger crop.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to read that.
It says, hello, this is a set of pictures and a concern that Suzanne shared. Hello, friends in this group. Someone is or has had the same problem as mine. Everything falls rotten, treated, watered, cared for. And this year it was like that. Everything falls down rotten. So they've done their usual routine from their side, but fruit going rotten early and just dropping to the ground, apparently.
Is it?
Oh, do you want that?
Is that a peach tree? Was that a peach tree in the images? I can't really see on my phone.
I can't either. Other keener-eyed or greener-thumbed than me might see that. It just looks like a rotten fruit to me. I mean, Suzanne's is in the Silver Coast area where there's a lot of apples and pears obviously growing in this part of the country.
Well, she shouldn't be having any problems with apples. All the apple trees I've seen up here have been great. I know the one in Carl's garden is doing really well.
Right.
Yeah, maybe peach trees really do. Peach trees really do struggle here, and if you don't copper treat them at the start of the year, then they get a disease that's really difficult to get rid of. You've got to be really aggressive with the chemicals.
Yes.
And I really don't like doing that because it affects the bees and the wasps at the wrong time of the year.
Okay, and it sounds like from what you're saying that it's been a bit of a bad year for those insects, and we rather than getting rid of them, we want to encourage them in some way. Best way to do that, Lee, I think part of this is everyone's on apocalypse watch at the moment, aren't they? Thinking, oh, we're all gonna, we're all boiling to death, or something's happening, something terrible's happening, and the fruit's falling from the trees, the bees and the wasps are disappearing. It's a drought, it's a fire. Everyone's really, not everyone necessarily.
Should I put my tinfoil hat on and tell you all it's just one big conspiracy to tax us more?
Go on then.
It's one big conspiracy to tax us more, Carl.
Okay, well, so no one need worry. It's just the government's up to their usual tricks of stirring you up, getting you upset about stuff, and then lo and behold, funny enough, I was talking about ULEZ earlier on, and this is a new tax that's coming into London, and not just London, all around London, and their cameras are going up, and other people are pulling them down. It's going to be quite the political hot potato, pardon the pun, pardon the gardening analogy there, in a couple of weeks' time. I think it's going to be very interesting in London. But a guy phoned into a radio phone in last night, and he said, all these taxes that we're paying, where's that money going? You never see any of the improvements.
No, you never see a benefit of it. You never see a benefit of it.
Apparently not.
They use the media so effectively to scare people. And you've got to take it all with a pinch of salt. The weather's never been a fixed pattern. It's never been fixed pattern weather. You can see if you look back over the decades, you can see this 10 and 15-year weather cycle pattern happening all the time.
Yeah.
The Victorians knew it. Yeah. They lived through bad winters, bad summers, and it's all if you look back in the diaries, it's all on a cycle.
Yeah.
It's just another way to tax us, another way to keep us scared, which is what they want to do.
Okay, well, I wasn't expecting that this morning, but I can go with that. And very interesting that you should be saying this, because you're somebody who's out there in the garden. Most people are experiencing this through their television sets, aren't they? They see a very red weather forecast.
Leaf coverage across the planet is actually increased by 10% over the last decade.
What has leaf coverage?
Leaf coverage, yeah. So there's more trees, there's more green areas, there's more shrubland. Yeah. And that's actually increased. There's certain indicators of insects and plants that you can look at that depicts how the climate's changing. And there's been no real indication that it's going to have any adverse effect. Obviously, not using too much chemicals is a good thing. Looking after the environment is a good thing. Making sure water quality is good is a positive. Farming the correct way, like Jason's doing, is a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's not the be all and end all. We're not going to die tomorrow because
Thank
there's
you
been
for
a
that.
heat wave.
That's very reassuring, Lee. That's why we need to have you on here at least once a month telling us that. Because if you look at other news sources, you could quite easily believe that, couldn't you? My peppers. Go on, mate.
I've been coming here for nearly 10 years, and this isn't the worst summer we've had. We've had hotter summers.
Yes.
If anything, this is one of the mildest.
Yes.
That I've not put sun cream on this year.
That is that's my experience, certainly. And we do, as human beings, we do tend to take the evidence of our senses as confirmation of our beliefs, don't we? So whatever you believe, you're likely to say, oh, yeah, that's definitely a sign of X, Y, or Z. But so thank you for your reassurance this morning. A little bit of advice, I think, here. My peppers keep getting sunburned, even under a shade blanket. They shrivel and drop off, but the fruit trees are okay. So he's not actually asking for advice. Although they are under a shade blanket, the peppers. Can he raise the stakes with that? Can he give them even more shade without compromising them?
Well, you can double over your shade blanket,
right.
But you need to raise it a little bit.
Okay.
So a shade blanket can technically just be dropped over the plant.
Yeah.
But if you put canes in and just raise it off, you can double it over. Or you can increase the water as well. That won't be helping. Peppers, especially as bulking up, they need a lot of extra water. Okay. So the plant looks great, the flowers look great, and then the little pods come on. But as soon as you start to bulk up the fruit, you need to bulk up the water with it, and maybe give it a bit of feed as well.
Excellent.
A bit of plant. Right. Just tomato feed, just simple cheap tomato feed from the supermarket will be fine.
Great, good to know. Thank you for that tip. We've got pictures to come from Louise, from the Great Wall of Portugal, schist wall that they've been building over there. Louise, of course, was a big fan of the Get Out and Grow show that you used to do, Lee. I imagine you're going to want to get back in the cafe now to see if those builders have moved on and had their brandies this morning and gone on to site. So thank you very much indeed. We're loving the McGrady moment. I think it was motivational more than a moan this morning. What do you think?
It's 9 o'clock, so it's time for me to get started work. I've had an easy morning so far.
All right, you're going to say a quick hello to Jason here and hand over the hoe, as it were, rather than the baton. Here he is. Jason.
Is Jason coming on now?
Here he is.
Right. Say hello to Jason.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Well, I was saying I had an extra hour in bed, which nearly caused me to oversleep. I had a full 8 hours last night, which is like a lion for me. But apart from that, very good, Jason. Excellent to see you. You're looking very brown and like you've been spending a lot of time in the garden this summer.
I've spent quite a bit of time outside.
Yeah.
No, it's been a rare thing for us because we decided to actually take a little bit of family time and
good for you.
Recharge the batteries. And so we've obviously we've still got some work to do, but with our daughter off preschool at the moment, we're spending lots of time as a family and doing lots of things like that at the moment. So trying to hit that work-life balance thing.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that. I mean, you're probably having farmer's holiday.
What's the work-life balance, Jason? Can you explain that? What's the work-life balance? I don't understand.
I'm just working it out now. It's not a perfect product.
I'm going to have to get back to work
by any stretch.
Jason, I'll speak to you at lunchtime. I'll see you later,
brother. Have a great day.
All the best. All right. Jason, I think that was a bit too... Talking about work-life balance was just too confusing for Lee there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it might have freaked him out a little bit. It's like...
What? Can't compute.
But I've got to say, now that we've actually tried it, we've really enjoyed this summer.
Yeah.
It was good to get the shop finished and to get it was like a goal completed. And so rather than just plough on relentlessly, we decided that we'd take a bit of time while my daughter was off school this summer.
Yeah.
Spend a lot of time at private fluvials, go swimming. I've spent my body has eaten her own. My daughter's eaten her own body weight in ice cream over the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
And just actually trying to enjoy the land for a little bit, rather than just constantly be working and thinking about what needs to be done.
So how are you managing that? Because that it can't. We're talking about nature here, aren't we? Fair enough with paperwork. The bureaucrats go on holiday in August, don't they? And the paperwork that they were dealing with on the 31st of July is pretty much, well, it's going to be a bit more of it by the time they get back on the 1st of September. But nothing, no one's going to die, really, are they, with that? Whereas if you don't water your plants, they definitely are going to perish.
Yeah, well, watering is the one thing that we are still doing. And obviously we're harvesting stuff for the shop and stuff like that. But in general, at the moment, rather than all day, every day, being fixated on trying to get something done, which was getting the shop open.
Yeah.
Now that it is open, we're just sort of finding our feet and working out our routine, and getting to like some kind of processes and procedures, and trying to work out how to make it as easy for ourselves as possible. But like 4 weeks ago, I had a load of friends come over. Had friends arrive from all over the planet.
Oh yes, of course.
To come to my It's Not My Birthday party, which was a great success. And so it was nice to spend some time with friends. The best bit was how blown away they were with the Central Portugal.
Yeah.
Loved the area. They loved the food. They liked the price of alcohol. That was a definite thing. And yeah, I think Portugal's left a lasting impression with a lot of them, and hopefully they'll be back. Maybe even some of them might even come back for extended stays. And so I'd like to thank Portugal for that, because it was nice to be able to show my friends around.
Yeah.
And for them to really enjoy it. And so, no, we've been having a whale of a time. And then since then, it's silly things like yesterday I had a new payment system installed.
Oh my goodness. Right. Okay, you need to tell us about this. This is what the Portuguese economy is based on, such hardware and software, isn't it? This is what your POS, point of sale system, and and it just connects to the government, everything, right? This is what people encounter in shops.
Well, it's what it has. Yeah, this is exactly what people encounter in shops. Whether it's actually directly linked to the finances office, on that I'm not so sure, but certainly all of your numbers and everything get entered as data.
Yeah.
I'm using Sage.
Right. Okay.
It's not an advert for it. I don't even know if any others exist.
Yeah. And you mean the software? You mean the software, not the herb?
Yeah, the software.
You could be using
Sage,
couldn't you?
Yeah.
Over everything.
Yeah, I haven't got a smudging stick, unfortunately.
It'd be too difficult for you, I'm sure.
I do, however, have lots of really nice sage, which is really nice in a tempura batter and fried like a crisp.
Yes.
But then obviously now I can run all my totals. It depends on what my accountant says. They can either ask me to run a daily total, or more likely it's going to be a monthly total. I pack that up as a computer file and send it off to them. And then all I have to do is take them all my fuel receipts and all of my own facturas and everything. And any factura or anything that I send out to clients or restaurants, it gives them all of the information so that finances can make sure that we're all paying our bit.
Fantastic. And it must at some point connect with finances, mustn't it? Because as people are giving you can say this now, can't you? You're the other side of the counter, literally. When people come in, you can say contribuent, on people's facturas here. The sort of thing you used to hear as a foreigner yourself back in the day. And here you are now taking people's NIF numbers and entering them onto the receipt. How does that feel?
It's a little bit bizarre. I feel a touch removed from it still at the moment.
Yes.
If I'm completely honest, my wonderful partner has done most of the shop tending. Because it's been a fantastic opportunity for me to spend time with my daughter.
Yeah.
And so normally things have been the other way round, where I've been absolutely flat out trying to get building stuff done and working through the bureaucracy. Whereas all of a sudden, now we've kind of, the whole reason for building the shop and growing the vegetables was born out of the idea that my partner really loves to cook and create things. And so the deal always was that I would grow her the vegetables and provide her with what she needed to be able to make what she required and what she wanted, which means that at the moment, for her to do that, it's best if I play with our daughter, which suits me absolutely fine, because I am still the biggest child in our family. Nobody is under any delusion about that.
Good for you. So sandpit out in the garden, running around with your pants on your head, all that sort of stuff. I'm so glad to...
not so much pants on my head. My daughter's the rubber ring that she likes to wear for going swimming. That's quite often a bonnet adornment.
Excellent. If you see an Englishman in central Portugal in such a condition, and then suddenly switching and asking for your NIF number, that'll be Jason asking for your NIF number with a rubber ring in his head. Well, I'm so pleased. I love these catch-ups with you, just to hear that things are going brilliantly there. Sounds like, the shop is just part of your life now, because we've seen it come into being. And the process you've been through to create a shop to sell your produce, it's settling in well with the locals, people coming to see you from all over the country, it seems like, to buy your produce. So pleased for you that it's all come together. And now here you are. You're part of the system, as Stephen Wells is giving you a bit of banter about that. And there you are. That's all in place. And not only that, you've managed to figure some work-life balance out. And in the height of summer, hanging out with your daughter. I'm so delighted to hear it. And this other thing that Pam's picking up on, you mentioned your birthday party. Again, if you're in central Portugal and you heard some, that would have been Jason having a fantastic party by a river beach. Pam says it's great when you have visitors. You get to see your home through tourists' eyes and appreciate it all over again. Isn't that fantastic? James is agreeing. I love sharing my little slice of heaven with visitors and sharing their oohs and ahs with them. How brilliant that you would invite loads of people to a banging party, literally, in central Portugal. Tell us a bit more about that. Did you? From what I could see, you had like top DJs flying in from all over Europe. Was it all over the world, in fact?
Yeah, well, I've been. I was quite a wayward child, and I like to travel and spend time in spots where there's like nice music and stuff. And so over the years, I've got lots of friends who we've worked in events and in festivals and things. And so it's DJs from New Zealand, France, Portugal, Germany.
Fantastic.
Some English ones, a Welsh one.
Wow. Okay, so it was like a proper rave from back in the day, where I don't know which phone it was, but look at this. Do you remember those days when you'd be driving around the M25?
It was number 2.
You'd have phone number 2, and you get a text message to go to junction or exit 17 or whatever of the M25, and that's where the party was for that weekend. You're talking about those sort of days, aren't you, that you've recreated in Portugal in the last couple of months?
Well, I haven't really recreated those. Now, I've kind of hit 50. I'm trying to adult more.
How's that going?
So, no, we found a wonderful place, River Beach, not too far from Villa de Rey, run by some wonderful ladies who, the River Beach is a beautiful stretch of river. They've got an amazing vegan cafe there. I'm not vegan, but the food there is incredible.
Wow.
And a bar. And they also have a music license. And so it's a great place for, they didn't mind what kind of music we played, but equally, if you were going to have a wedding or if you were going to any kind of social event, then it's a great place for families and friends and everybody to gather.
Yes.
And in fact, I'm the very same ladies hopefully opening they are opening a restaurant in Pedrogo Grande.
Fantastic.
Which is going to be called Passion Mama, which is going to be a vegetarian restaurant. And myself and Oriel, we're out to dinner with those guys this evening because they've asked us if we would like to supply their vegetables.
Wow, what great news.
Yeah, and so, even when I was partying, that's like I'm always working on some level or another.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so we're really excited to be able to get the opportunity to maybe do something like that. That would be our second restaurant. We feel pretty good. We've been open a month. Already got one restaurant on board in one of the local towns, and so just going to keep pushing to sell the whole of Central Portugal veg. That's kind of my mission.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be it could Stephen's winding you up a bit there by saying you're becoming part of the system, but before long it might be some massive LDA corporation supplying vegetables to all of Central Portugal. Remember where you saw him first, and I'm thinking other people are going to be getting in touch as well. These 50-year-olds that you're talking about, Jace, are going to be like, yes, a rave on a river beach. I want Jason to organise that for me as well for my birthday party.
I mean, party planning is a speciality of mine.
There you go. Right.
Normally, this time of year, I would be back in the UK. I'm normally part of a team that I helped to build quite an enormous festival in the UK called Boomtown.
Did you?
That's just been and gone, and this is the first year I've missed it in, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years. But again, that was because we got the shop completed.
Yeah.
We are completely committed to making a life here. And so it just wasn't possible for me to get back to the UK. Because if it's going to work, then needed to pour all of our energies into making this happen.
Yeah.
Because of when I went away last year, I'd be talking to my partner, and the temperature would be creeping up, and it'd be like 42, 43, 44. And so I just felt a little bit uncomfortable about leaving my loved ones behind.
Yeah, fair enough.
While I go off and build Lego festivals.
Yes. Now, Boomtown, not to be confused with Boom, which is the Portuguese big festival. Do you ever go along to that? Have you anything to do with Boom?
I went to the first 3 booms.
Did you?
Back in 99, 2001 and 2003.
Old timer.
Yeah. The very first one that they did. Me and some friends, we used to have a travelling cafe, which was called the CCC. And for the first boom, we fed everybody on site. Absolutely fed everyone on site. And so, we've got a bit of an affiliation with those guys, but I haven't been for over 20 years.
I think we've got some mutual friends if we sit down one day and talk about that.
Almost certainly, I would say.
Yeah, amazing. We've got Louise trying to join us. Louise has sent in some amazing pictures of produce that she's been growing. You'll remember Louise, I think, Jason, from the Get Out and Grow show. A big box of produce there, which I believe was a goodie box for a neighbour, because she's also been sending in pictures of the wildfires that have been going on, which, of course, as you were sort of referring to there, is a bit of a concern, always in Central Portugal. I don't know if these are her own photographs, but I think she had a bit of a near miss with these. So if her signal from the fields where she's been building a schist wall hold up, look at that. That's a great bit of work, isn't it?
Wow.
That's
Amazing.
Paul and Louise have been building that. I think they've just turned the cement mixer off for a moment, but we need to have a reliable signal to talk to them. So maybe we will in a moment. And if you're wondering what's going on with the Cane Sabia and the deep thought on the God Squad tip of the day, we'll do that in the last half hour this morning. I nearly overslept, had more sleep than I normally do, nearly overslept, and the show a little bit upside down this morning. And for the time being, we're talking to Jason at Quinta Essencial, who's having a bit of a rediscovered a work-life balance and enjoying the summer, which I didn't imagine you'd be saying. I'm so pleased for you. He's hanging out, having family time. But when you say that you're having a bit of work-life balance, I'm guessing you're having like a farmer's holiday, so you're only working about 5 hours a day. Is that about right?
Look, I've get the chickens sorted and make sure that they're all fed and watered and their welfare needs are taken care of. And then at the moment we're watering twice a day. I'm not going to lie to you. I also almost overslept this morning. And so my amazing partner, Oriel, she was up at 6:30 this morning to water all of the veg. I'll have a go this evening. And then I've already broken a promise today. And so, do you remember the tale of the enormous estufa?
No, I'm not sure.
The massive pot. So I've bought a second-hand polytunnel.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah. So that was the estufa was what threw me. You bought yourself a big polytunnel. Is that going up today in this weather?
No, I've still got to take it down.
Okay.
The very wonderful and long-suffering Inga and Steve. I know I said I'd be there at 9, but I completely forgot that I do this on a Tuesday. Soon as this is over, I am heading to you. Thanks for your patience.
Let's keep you for a couple more minutes if we may. Let's bring Louise onto the screen. Nice big round of applause for Louise. Well, hey.
Bon dia.
Bon dia to you, Louise. How are you? And the Great Wall of Portugal.
The second Great Wall of Portugal. We're fine, thank you. Yes, it's been a bit of a very hectic, bizarre 10 days.
What's been going on then? I mean, if you want to say a quick hello to Jason, because I think Jason's got to go and take down a polytunnel.
Hi, Jason.
You remember?
I've got another 10-15 minutes.
Yes. We have a mutual friend. We have a mutual friend in Mark.
Oh yes. In Proenza.
That's right. Yes.
Cool. Is that where you're based? Is it?
It is.
So now I understand about. I could see that glow from my house when that was all going on.
Is this part of the 10 days then, Louise? This picture that you sent me here. Have you had a weird time in the last little while?
Yeah, that was last Saturday the 4th at 5 o'clock in the morning, and those pictures were taken 4 minutes apart. And the fire started about 30 kilometers away from us over the hills, and during the evening of Friday night and Saturday morning it got closer and closer, and we thought it would never pass the hill, and it did, and it probably hit about 10 villages in the Proenza Nova district.
Yikes. Okay, you say that's 5 in the morning, and then within a few minutes it changes from something that looks pretty horrible to something that's absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely. And at that point, it was surrounding our house. So we took the decision to evacuate because we had visitors with us, and they were terrified. We just grabbed our grab bags, which were ready, and we left. And as we were leaving the village, which is up a kilometre hill, the bomberos were arriving.
Good heavens. So their sirens must have been blazing to awake the bomberos who may have been asleep or out partying or whatever in a normal central Portugal weekend. And they were gathering, and they managed to overcome that by the sound of it, and it didn't reach your house.
It didn't reach our house per se, but the land all the way around our land, and some of our land is burned, some of our trees are scorched. We've probably lost a couple of olives, a couple of pomegranate trees. Our horters were behind the house, so that's fine. They weren't hit at all. But we actually have CCTV camera footage. All the electricity went out at about 5:15. I think they turned it off deliberately so that there were no electrical fires. And our CCTV, though, is solar powered. So we've got pictures of the bomberos coming to our property, and they arrived at 6:10 on our land. So we weren't in the centre of the village, we're on the outskirts. So they went to the centre of the village first. They came at 6:10 to our land, and they left at 7:20. So they were on our land for 30 minutes, putting out the fires.
Incredible. I'm so glad you're safe. How terrifying. I mean, we were talking earlier on, Louise, about how lovely it is to show your part of the world to visitors. this is a little bit different, isn't it? They came for a lovely little break in central Portugal with you, only to be confronted by the glow of a wildfire in the distance at 5 in the morning. How are they?
They were pretty traumatized, actually. So were we. And they went back this Tuesday just gone, a week ago, and they're still washing the smoke out of their clothes. And that's something that nobody tells you. Even though there's a forest fire, the smell of the smoke every morning when we wake up, it blows in every piece of wind that happens.
Wow.
A new piece of ash falls out the trees or off a plant or out of your gutters or off your roof. Yeah. And we'll be probably, until it rains, we'll be smelling smoke.
Yes, of course. Well, this is quite the insight into what can happen. Has this happened before in any way sort of recognizable like this, or is this the worst experience you've had of wildfires?
In our village, this is the first ever in 100 years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's that put down to?
If it could be a number of things. It's just the speed of the wind. The wind direction was totally unusual that night.
Yeah.
It came from north to south rather than south to north.
Right.
If it was in the prevalent direction, south to north, we wouldn't have been hit at all.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm so glad you're safe, and sorry that you and your guests had such a terrifying time there. I don't know what can you do to prepare? I mean, you did everything right, didn't you? You had the grab bag ready. You knew what to do, and you evacuated at the right time, by the sound of it.
Yes, the only other thing we could have done is wait for the bombardiers to knock on the door and either say we're safe or evacuate us.
Yeah.
But our friends just weren't comfortable staying. And whilst we knew we could get out at that point because we're on the side of the hill, if we'd left it any longer, the whole of the road from our place up to the main road, the trees went up on both sides. So we would have had oxygen deprivation for the car. And in the Pedroga Grande fires a couple of years ago, where all those people sadly died, it was oxygen starvation of the engine of their car that made the car stop.
That's not something you think of, is it? Because your car runs on oxygen as well as fuel for the combustion. And if you're driving through a smoke cloud, that's going to compromise the vehicle. So that's something to be aware of, isn't it? Who would have thought that? We're just not thinking about those sort of things, are we? But that's an amazing reminder. Well, you being here is a reminder of to get the grab bag ready, be aware, be prepared, and have a conversation about it, right? Think about what you're going to do with the people in your household.
Absolutely. And who have you got around you? So our neighbours, both our Portuguese neighbours, phoned us to alert us, so we were awake at that time.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been for them waking us up, we wouldn't have known how close the fire was. So make sure you have contacts in and around you, that if there is an emergency, that you can phone them or they can phone you, so you know that you're safe.
Get that system in place. That's a really good idea as well, isn't it? And thank goodness you got such great neighbours as well. And we got fire singed cork oak. You sent me a few images, some terrifying like this one, and others heartwarming as well. So we can see how close it came. Sorry, I haven't got these in any particular order here, Louise, but perhaps you could talk us through them. Oh, this is more fire singeing, isn't it? Is that an apple tree? Caught it on one side.
That's pomegranate.
I beg your pardon, pomegranate. Okay, wow. Mm-hmm. Good heavens, right. And that's your irrigation system. What happened there?
Yes, so we've had to relay it, but the dark black outline is actually the 40-inch pipe that has just melted into the ground.
What?
Yes.
Sorry, 40, is that the old irrigation?
Sorry, 40 millimetre, the old irrigation, big, thick irrigation pipe, just melted into the ground.
Without trace, like a vaporized sort of nuclear finish.
That's it.
Good
totally.
God. Good God, right. Okay, and you've been busy replacing it. Look at that. It's sad to see.
That's the cork oak. The cork is now totally ruined. It won't be able to be picked up. Well, it'll be picked up and trashed. So.
Good God, right, okay. And another more fire singeing there, right on the edge of your property, and thank God that's where it stopped.
Exactly, and that was because the bomberos were able to get to the edge of the property and spray. That's why it's such a straight line.
Okay, right. Well, thank God for them as well, right? You must have been hugging the bomberos and thinking about how to look after them in the future.
Oh, absolutely. We've already said sent up some supplies to the local Bombero station at the aerodrome.
Well, thank you, Louise, for being here this morning and telling us about this. Produce, however, life goes on. Were you forced to have an earlier harvest as a result? Is that what's going on here with you?
No, we did these a couple of weeks ago, but I was just gathering them in, and every so often you have to go through them, strip some of the leaves out, and make sure they haven't gone soft or got black mold. So I was just sorting through them yesterday. Right.
Well, if you need an outlet for selling them, we know a really good guy. And you put together a box with somebody who wasn't as fortunate as you were.
Yes, a couple of our Portuguese neighbours down in the village, their main horta was out in the forest near a stream, and it got totally fried. And they've lost everything. And when she was telling me, she was in tears. So I put down a basket for her, a box for her. And they've been so kind to us in the past, giving us some of their produce. I thought it was the only thing to do to give them some back. But they weren't so fortunate. They've lost olive groves, they've lost their hortas, they've lost livestock. It's all, it's very traumatic for them.
I bet. And we do cover. We were talking to Jason Horton about the fires in the south last week, and the appeal that he's started and others have started to help people. We see this, don't we? And those who aren't living through the sort of the remnants and the aftermath of this can move on. People have their lives, don't they? But for the likes of your neighbour here, who you took this to, this is their reality, and the charred trees and the landscape. This remains the reality for people. Are you being well supported? Are local people being well supported by the Camera and local government?
Absolutely. The old couple who I've just spoke about, they live in the centre of the village, but their horta and livestock are on the outskirts. The Camera have already been down to help clean out their barns, so they are getting local support from the Camera. They responded really, really quickly. There's a helpline set up to call in to register your damage if you want to. So yes, they are being supported by the local services. EDP were out 3 days after the fire, so they came out last Tuesday, Wednesday, starting to repair all the electrical lines that were broken. Telephones, there's some telegraph poles that are just hanging from the wires because they're burnt from the bottom up. They are slowly being replaced. We see them in 3 villages down that got impacted as well, so they're being replaced up towards us, so we know they'll be on their way soon.
Wow, Louise, thank you for being here and telling us about this. I mean, this is, when you're living in Porto or Lisbon or on the coast, it's you get a sense of this, but to hear about your experience of it is truly sobering, and something we all in some way need to be mindful about. Jason, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Are you staying safe around where you are?
Yes, thankfully so far this year. There's been a couple of smallish fires relatively close to us.
Yeah.
The one that Louise is talking about, we could actually see from our place, and we're over 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers from Proença.
Wow.
But we could see, you look straight down the valley, and we could see the glow of it all. Thank goodness for the bomberos.
Yeah.
And for neighbours, it's an unfortunate thing that it's an indelibly imprinted thing on the minds of anybody who lives in central and rural areas of Portugal. It's always in the back of your mind.
Yes.
Be really, really careful. I smoke, but I make sure I'm really careful with my cigarette ends. And, I think one of the worst ones is when people are driving in cars, flicking things like cigarette ends out of cars and driving on. But here it's not been too bad. But that's not to say, I think it's going to be a hot, late summer. It was quite nice and wet in the earlier part of the year, but we're starting to experience higher temperatures now. For us here, I've got water points laid out around the property, and if something happens, then my first port of call is, well, I'd do what the Bomberos did at Louise's and just try and lay some water down in a big line.
Yeah.
But essentially, I think the main point is have your grab bag ready and have a little bit of a plan as to what you're going to do and where you're going to go.
Yes.
And like Louise says, who you're going to contact, because not everybody is always aware. And the speed of these things can be frightening.
As we saw, this is what you saw at 5 a.m, right, Louise? And then within a few minutes, it had gone from horrible to terrifying, basically.
Absolutely, and that's just. I didn't have time to take any more pictures. That was it, because it happened so quickly. And as I turned, that was looking north. As I turned to look south, the other side of the property, which is a pine forest, we don't own it, but it's a pine forest that is managed. You know, they do come and clear the scrub. Was on fire. It was totally wiped out now. And all you can hear around, and in fact, not today, but earlier on this morning, the chainsaws were out. People are already starting cutting down, trying to salvage what they can, collecting firewood. But what was interesting is the smouldering carried on for a good 5 days, especially with some of the larger tree stumps.
Yes, yeah, I've seen this myself. You know, it's considered resolved, isn't it? And the other thing we haven't mentioned, of course, is Fogosh.pt, which is the app for tracking and knowing what's going on. And they'll say it's in resolution. And I wasn't rubbernecking or being sort of mawkish or morbid and going to a fire site, but I've been driven past places where it's considered to be in resolution, but the ground still smoulders, as you say, for days after, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Incredible.
The other one,
go on.
Sorry, can I just say the other site I would call out is Safe Communities Portugal?
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's, if you don't get any leaflet from your local camera or your local municipality about what to pack in a grab bag or what the process for fires are, Safe Communities Portugal has got some good, very short pages to say what to put in a grab bag, what to do in the event of a fire, who to call, etc. So,
well said.
Big shout out for them.
Yeah, definitely. All about safety first, David Thomas and the team there. And what do you do then in the aftermath of this? Well, you build a schist wall, don't you? Back to something to take your mind off things, maybe, Louise. Good job here. Tell us about the schist wall that you're working on.
We live on a property on the hillside. We've got lots of schist walls. During the winter, we get some rain damage. Some of these walls are over 100 years old, 150 years old, and it's just stone and soil built. But as they fall down, we repair them and replace them, but we use cement and rebar. But the stones that have fallen, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle trying to put them back again.
It is. And here, am I seeing an integral bench a stone bench that's being built into this one, so you can have a gin and tonic after you've done all the hard work?
Absolutely, and it's got a superb view across the village and the valley. So it is because the natural lay of the natural rock was underneath. So we thought we'd make use of that.
The G&T bench. Louise, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You just have to be into the rhythm of nature now, don't you? And let nature take its course and bring it back into balance over there, I suppose.
Absolutely. One of my tasks for later on this afternoon is going out and looking at the horters, seeing what's been sun damaged, singed, what needs cutting back, and what can I save so it can replenish itself and give us some more produce.
Incredible. Well, lots of love to you. I'm sorry to hear of the such a terrible time that you've had in the last less than 2 weeks. Really, all of this has happened, isn't it? So all the best to you, all of you, the whole family over there. And I don't know if there's anything that we can do to help collectively as a community. Just let us know. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Jason,
thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. This is the point in the month where we talk about the Quintas, the horters, and the gardens with Lee, and it's always nice to have that to grow your own kind of vibe in the air when you folks are around. Jason as well, of course, at Quinta Essencial. You've got a polytunnel to take down. Jason, have a good day.
Yep, thank you very much. I'm going to go and try and dig some very large poles out with massive lumps of concrete on. I'm not looking forward to it, if I'm honest, but it's got to be done.
It's more of an autumn and winter job, ideally, isn't it? But it's got to be done, as you say.
Got to be done.
Yeah.
I've made a right mess of their back garden, and I need to go and make it right.
I see. Okay. Well, belated birthday best, not birthday best to you. I'm glad you had a fantastic time. And if you want to buy veg, you know where to do it at Quinta Essencial. And if you want a party planned with a vegetarian vegan buffet, by the sound of it, you know who to call as well. Jason, have a great day. Lots of love to the family, and keep enjoying your summer, my friend.
You too. Take care, guys.
Bye for now. Bye for now. There you go. That's for Louise and for Jason there. Amazing this morning. And of course, Lee McGrady. We're a little bit, I was going to say asked about face, but I would never say that in a live environment. A little bit of an upside down show this morning, and we can return to the Cane Sabia and to the deep thought of the day and the God Squad tip of the day, which we overlooked somehow. It's when we've got McGrady on, isn't it? It's when we have a guest coming on. 8:45. We'll have that again tomorrow. Jackie will join us from Expats Portugal tomorrow on Ask Anything About Portugal. Wednesday, Jackie will be joining us with highlights, forthcoming attractions on Expats Portugal tomorrow, Wednesday. And let's get on with the show and wonder who D-S is. Did I invite you to be on the show and then forgot about it and haven't sent you the link? I'm not seeing anything via WhatsApp or Messenger just at the moment, so I do forgive me if I have done that. Whoever you are, D-S, or did you just want to just join us on the show? Maybe, I don't know. Aviva, lovely to see you here this morning. I lived in the southwest of the US, and we had forest fires every summer. Sad to know droughts are causing the same situation in Portugal, and that's a notable thing, of course, about Louise's predicament. There, it's the first fire of its kind in 100 years. Because of a quirk in the weather pattern there. Unless your car is electric, I guess, is what Matty's saying. Matty joined us, of course, last time on the Quinta Crew section or meet up every month. Yeah, that is a great benefit of having an electric car. Of course, you don't need any oxygen, do you, in the combustion process there? So a benefit in having an electric there. Although I suppose in the horrible event of a car going up, do electric cars just are they highly incendiary and flammable? I'm not sure, but certainly you're right on that, Matty, that you're not needing any oxygen. You can just whiz your way, hopefully, out of a dangerous situation. Okay, let's go back to where we started this morning with those 3 or 4. I think Andy was in there as well. Andy Klein was in there. We'll see you tomorrow at the meetup, Andy. Looking forward to that. Wednesday, of course, meetup day here in San Martino de Porto. At 7:50 this morning, alongside Andy and the other wise men of the Gumpocalypse, was T-Duck, 7:50 with a Bon Dia Alegria Gumpers. And today is a national holiday in Portugal. It's the Assumption of Mary. And you can make the assumption also that most government offices will be closed. Deep thought then, thanks to T-Duck. And are we carrying on with Tim Ferriss? Here we are. What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do. Funny that. And very true, very good. I think that's true, isn't it? And we had an encouragement, didn't we, from Bob and Viv the other day? Just do it. The thing that you fear, or the thing you're making a big deal about, because this happens, doesn't it? Certainly in our lives here as FEs, the expats, foreigners, and immigrants moving to Portugal, we'll put certain things off because we don't know how to do them yet, or we fear the implications or consequences or repercussions of lifting that stone. Probably best in it just to kiss the frog and get on with it. So thank you for that, Tim Ferriss, via T-Duck there. And your Cane Sabia today. The Assembly of the Republic is the unicameral Parliament of Portugal. According to the Constitution, the Parliament is the representative assembly of all Portuguese citizens. In theory, I'm sure that's true. I wonder, among our Portuguese friends here, does it feel like that? Do you feel like that the unicameral Parliament of Portugal is representative of you as a Portuguese citizen? Since 1834, the Parliament has been located in a historical building. Nicely done here, T-Duck. An historical, very posh, an historical building in Lisbon, the Palace of Saint Benedict, Palacio de São Bento. Did you know that? Benedict, the site of an old Benedictine monastery. The Assembly consists of between 108 and 230, 180 and 230 members who are elected by popular vote for legislative terms of 4 years from the country's 22 constituencies. Now, if you go there in that part of town, just up from Quinta Essencial, effectively, in the waterfront, you can walk up there, can't you, through some of the old part of town. I did that most recently when I went to the Down Under restaurant with the Expats Portugal Dream Team and walked past the parliamentary building. It's usually someone camped outside protesting about something or other who presumably don't feel represented by the parliament inside or are waiting to be. According to the constitution, members of the assembly represent the entire country, not just their constituency. This directive has been reinforced by the strong role of political parties. The president of the assembly is elected by secret vote of the members of parliament and is the second hierarchical figure in the Portuguese state after the president of the Portuguese Republic. So there's a president of the assembly as well as a president of the Portuguese Republic, who, of course, we found out about yesterday. We shall return to those dad jokes. You have been warned. I think we've got a visual as well, have we not, from James this morning. Coach Turner was in at 8:03. Shall I do it in a Stuart Speak style? Coach Turner coming in from Hertfordshire in the UK. What have we got going on here then? Bon dia todos, back to relative normality today after a week of grandchild mayhem. Will be great to do. Just put a rubber ring on your head. That's Jason's approach. Will be great to do some training and coaching. God's got tip of the day then for you today. I was with an old friend yesterday who'd been injured since February. She was absolutely buzzing as she'd had her first run for over 6 months and loved it. Now, that's sometimes as long as you need to rest. I wonder who ordered the discharge on that 6 months later, Coach Turner? Do you have to work in conjunction with your doctor and your physio and a little bit of your own tuition to have something like that? To wait that long, in fact, and look forward to that great run, which she clearly enjoyed. It showed to me, says Coach Turner, how important it is to enjoy your exercise in whatever form it takes. Walking, running, dancing, swimming, cycling, gardening. Find something active you enjoy. That's what I'm writing about, actually. I've started my piece for the Portugal resident. You know what, as Gumpers here, you get a chance to influence me. What do you think I should be writing about? What do you not? I mean, we're all reading about the best places to go in Portugal, aren't we? Best place to live, how Portugal's won another award, golden visa. All of these things are important in their own way. But what is not getting written about? I invite you to influence me on that. My current piece that I'm working on starts with those words, I wish I'd done it years ago. And that's moving to Portugal. And I'm going to be talking about, as we get to the autumn, and how do I not be indelicate about this? But, moving towards the autumn and winter of our years and lives, we are tending to retire, of course, aren't we? And migrate towards the last third of our life, if you like. And how best to look after yourself, your body. I mean, that's what Coach Turner's all about here with the God Squad Tips of the Day. How best to look after yourself in that time, and the inevitable, the aging, perhaps some illnesses that come with older age. How best to ward those off? How best to deal with them? And also, I'll be looking at some of the housing options for as we get older. And I think the more proactive and open we are in about the conversation around this, the better our options will be. Because sometimes, it takes people by surprise, and it's not quite how they would have liked it to be. So if you want to talk to me about that, DM me about any of those things or other ideas for articles. 913-590-303. Munson struggling for topics. I hear some people say it's not that. I've never struggled to find something to write about. If anything, I'm over blessed with ideas, and it takes some effort to narrow it down to write one thing. Although they did publish 2 of my bits last week, which is great to see. So that's this week. So I'll be working on that, filing it this week for publication. Probably next Friday now, actually. Quite a long lead time on those. Bon dia from James. Feliz Segunda. Como va as coisas? From James there. I've got technology, isn't it? It's great when your technology is trying to be green and turn itself off. Not now. Bon dia, alegria from Paul, Louise and Lottie at 8:25. You heard from Louise, of course. Final stages of repairing the old schist wall damaged by winter rains. Thank you for being here, Louise. It was really good to catch up with you. And James then in the closing quarter of an hour this morning. Slug's favourite quotes: to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children. What about the respect of unintelligent people? I wonder. An affection of people other than kids. But that's a good start. I'm not knocking it. That is a good start, isn't it? To earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends. There we go. Breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded, said Ralph Waldo Emerson. Is that the sort of, what's it called? The, not cenotaph, where you have that, the inscription on your tombstone. There you go, your tombstone inscription, perhaps. And he continues to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit. I'm going to have to read this, aren't I, in one go and make the most of it here. To leave the world in a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has. Well, hold on a minute. This is all jumbled up, isn't it? And then I think you sent it to me twice. So here we go. I'm going to have another go at this to make better sense of it. And I know part of this is the difficulty of having to split your message up into 4 little bits. Let's try this again. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. There you go. Ralph Waldo Emerson. That is beautiful. And that's not a bad checklist, is it, for a life well lived? Thank you for sharing that with us. Some time ago now, over an hour ago, but it hasn't weathered poorly in that hour and 10 minutes. I love that, and thank you very much. Very moving, especially that line there. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. And I'm sure that doesn't necessarily mean in the oxygen intake sense. It just means, doesn't it, metaphorically, breathing easier. A bit like the line about the healthy child, healthy in all respects, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. Thank you for that, James. Other quotes like that, motivational, inspiration, always welcome here. You can send them to me, 913-590-303, or just bung them in the chat, as James did there. Although you will have to split it up, as you saw James doing, in 4 parts there for the longer quotes. Good morning, Andy. As I said, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Good morning, Victoria. And we did talk, didn't we, briefly about sleep patterns. Coach Turner adding to the earlier God Squad tip of the day. Sleep is really important for good health. Haven't talked about that in the God Squad tip of the day. So we'll do some more research. If I find anything useful, I'll let you know. Don't snooze off while you're doing it. Now, I know what you've been up to in the last 24 hours, Chris. I got a lovely message from Queen of the Visas who said she'd bumped into you. Not just bumped into you, but bumped into you at that incredible and exclusive watering hole known as the Club down there in Bulgal, the Club, run, of course, by Tiago, one of our favourite chefs in the community, Tiago Zeferino, whose work we saw with Frank one morning, right, on the show. And there you were, I think, Gilda and Chris. Hola, bon dia, watching till 9 this morning. Most people, says Stephen. Morning to you, Stephen. Thanks for being here this morning. And any new gumpers? Always nice to see you here. I know it looks like, all the cool kids are the ones who are talking. Always great to see a new comment from a new gumper. And you will be looked after mainly by class monitor James. But we're a good bunch here, and we'll make sure you're welcome. So don't feel in any way backward in coming forward. Shout out to the introverts this morning. Feel free to say hi, please, if you haven't said so already. Most people, and if you're watching this on catch-up, do it as on catch-up as well. Always great to receive a comment on YouTube if this applies to you and you've got all this way on catch-up through the show. If you have, actually, let me know. Yay, I got this far on catch-up, not live, an hour and 20 minutes in. Here I am saying hello. Please do that in the comments and we'll respond to you. We might even bring your comment into the live environment here. Of course, your messages on 913-590-303 as well. I'm not a live viewer, you might say, but I wanted to say hi. Please do so. 913-590-303 on WhatsApp. Most people work 90-minute sleep cycles. Therefore, you want to add 90 minutes rather than just 30 or 60. Nice. Thank you for that, Stephen. Is this something you know a little bit about, or have you been listening to the podcasts of the Diary of a CEO as well and others? I nearly always schedule a solid 8 hours per night's sleep. You have a nice little siesta in the afternoon as well, don't you? A nice little basket in the afternoon. Down at 22:30, up at 6:30, and it depends in that Portuguese way. Haha, how solid I sleep and how I feel when it's time to get up. So ideally in bed for 10:30 and up at 6:30. That does sound like a good pattern. I do feel like I'd like to get up earlier, but then of course that means going to bed earlier, doesn't it? And I do like those quiet moments late at night. Maybe I can do those in the early morning. Garvo, on the other hand, can't sleep more than 5 hours these days. Is that because you have to get up and have a wee? You don't have to answer that. Sleep really thrives with a consistent schedule. I'm sure that's true. No question. I don't see the Motorola Razr. Now, I had one of those, T-Duck, for sure. The Razr was a thing of beauty. I've got one of my half-brick phones that I used to actually write on. It was great. Was it called an MDA or something? It was really good. On T-Mobile. I don't think we have T-Mobile, do we, in the UK? I've got a couple of my old phones, but I did have a Motorola Razr and absolutely loved it. In case you're wondering why we're talking about the Motorola Razr, it's because the opening image this morning, and if you want to send in an opening image, some sort of visual meme, dad joke, whatever, do so on 913-590-303. Yeah, the Motorola Razr isn't there. We've got Sony's, haven't we? We've got flip phones. We do have a flip there, but not the Razr. And we've got the iPhones, of course, and the BlackBerry. I think there's some other comments about the BlackBerry. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. Motorola Razr was very nice indeed. And I think I don't know if it's still the case, but like a lot of things, we remember them by their fragrance, don't we? And I'm sure mobile phones used to smell better when they were coming out of the box, a bit like new trainers, certainly the contrast between new and old trainers. Okay, thank you very much. Tamara was in as well. Somebody who doesn't comment very often, but glad to see your comment, Tamara. Never had an iPhone, love my BlackBerry, and now I am all in on Samsung Galaxy. We've got weather report from Alcobaça from Pam. Thank you very much. Ubi also in. And yeah, the biorhythms, of course. Do you remember, again, long before mobile phones, there were little devices, weren't there, that predicted or guided you with your biorhythms? That was a thing, wasn't it? All part of the human potential thing with the explosion of interest in astrology, and numerology, biorhythms, those sort of things. Whatever happened? I'm sure biorhythms didn't go away, but our common and popular interest in them, I think, did. Or is there somebody still in our community who's got one of those little devices that told them the best time to get up and get up in the morning and go to bed at night and when to eat and so on? That's what it was all about, wasn't it? The biorhythms, the right times to be creative, etc. I was reading a motorcycle magazine yesterday and an article on touring in Portugal. They were particularly impressed with riding through the Serra da Estrela, says Coach Turner. It is my plan for next year. Oh, you're going to motorcycle? Wow, Coach T. Or are you doing that by car? My Portugal. No, I completely forgot last night. It was a weird night in all sorts of ways. I forgot to post up today's Portugal quiz question. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set myself up a bit here. Today's Portugal quiz question is about the Volta Portugal. I don't know if that's somebody winning on the final stage or that's some way through. I was writing about it yesterday afternoon and evening, but I'm going to ask you the question today. How long is the Tour of Portugal? How many kilometers or miles is it? The Tour of Portugal, the Volta of Portugal. How long? That is today's quiz question. And there's a yellow jersey wearer. I don't know if that's a final or intermediate stage where they're being celebrated there. But that's ongoing right here in Portugal at the moment. And let's have a look at the last few comments. And, of course, those dad jokes for today. Oh, someone else with an Apple phobia here. Oh, and some Delash Josette Claude is here with some sort of opportunity for us, perhaps. 350,000 euros at stake here. We'll come back to that. Thank you very much, Delash Josette Claude, for being here this morning. You are in grave danger of being blocked, I think. But we shall see what you have to say when we come back to your comment in just a moment. Never had an iPhone. Yeah, Apple phobic is Gary Austin. And part of my Apple phobia, says Andy Klein, has to do with not wanting to deal with iTunes. Yeah, and if I want to go onto iTunes or look at my photos, I've got to use an Apple device. I've got an old one, but they are naughty, aren't they, with that? Pam's first mobile was not the massive brick, but the size of a large, I'm guessing a TV remote, where the battery lasted 2 hours. One time, a flatmate borrowed the phone Borrowed it to phone his girlfriend, and it cost £37. Well, and I'm sure that wasn't a long call, or was it? But even so, £37. I remember actually a friend of mine in his teenage years phoned up his American pen pal and ran up a bill for his mum of £2,000 or so pounds. BlackBerry phones, says Gary, pen pals. Oh, BlackBerry phones were made for people with antennas for fingers and binocular eyesight. Yes, true. Lee, that was some time ago. Stephen shouting out to Lee, who of course was with us with a McGrady moment. You've got some blisteringly a few hot days coming your way, Lee. So the capital sounds like it's going to be hot in the next little while. And yeah, not good weather for streaming. When I finally got my iPhone, my first iPhone, to replace my tiny stogie-sized burner that I'd had for 5 years, burner phones from 2006, the clerk, as you would say, at the Apple store said, "Oh, what a cute old dumb phone versus smartphone. Oh, look at your silly old phone there." James, amazing. Have I got your visual dad joke queued up for this morning? I don't think I do. Let me put that right now and find it. Can't find it anywhere, actually. I'm going to have to go back to your original WhatsApp message, 913-590-303. Thank you very much for that this morning, James. You've been buried as well by other incoming messages. Okay, here it is. That's going to be with you in just a couple of minutes. Yes, you have been warned. Visual dad joke from the slug this morning. And last few comments that we're working our way through. I like that. Dumb phones and smartphones. Didn't know that. It's no wonder there is sod all of him. That's a reference to Lee's sinewy frame from Garvo there. Thanks, Bobby. Good to see you this morning. Remind us that there is a train connection, which links you, of course, to Haddad de Mayo, the new development, of course, from your home. That Bobby is overseeing and is the inspiration behind, among others, and his team there of investors and staff. Gary Austin, always wanted one of those military phones that have a backpack, with me standing in at the bar on the phone saying something like, "Potatoes are doing what? We sell, man, sell potatoes and pork bellies." That's a great image. Can we do that when we come to Tamar next month on our Discovery Weekend with you? Let's do that. Let's do that as part of the filming. You walking into a bar with your military backpack phone shouting out, "Sell, sell, sell." Okay. You got help with your peppers. It's never nice to hear of a man's peppers shriveling and dropping off, Gary Austin. So I hope you had some comfort from Lee earlier on. And yeah, I think that just about... we didn't find out, did we? We didn't find out who D-S was. And I'm probably going to be embarrassed to find out who that is, who I think wanted to join us on StreamYard this morning. Not sure who you are. James, after 2 evacuations and 1 near miss in 4 years in California, I'd had enough, so I moved to Portugal. But I could afford to live on the coast here, so a consideration for James. Did we help? Did anyone help Delash this morning? I think she came and went. Probably got barred off YouTube and StreamYard for this morning. Smash that like button, says T-Duck. And the Razr was a cool, sleek phone, but it got terrible reception. It was funny, wasn't it? Because it didn't have an antenna, did it? Or did it have a little stubby antenna? It was thought, wasn't it? You only need a great big whip antenna. And some of them did have a pull-out antenna. One that I inherited from my dad, who was an early adopter. He used to call them poser phones because they used to like posing with his mobile. I had one with a pull-out whip antenna on it, but they just don't have antennas anymore. I guess antenna technology got better, so you don't need to have that hanging out your pocket or poking yourself in the eye with that anymore. Time to get stuff done on my Quinta. Have a great day. Stay healthy and happy. Thank you for that greeting and parting comment, Matty. So let's do that at 1 minute past 10 this morning. Let's share that visual dad joke from James. Warning. I hate when people say age is only a number when it's clearly a word. Yes, very prescient and appropriate to what I'm writing about for the Portugal resident today. And those last dad jokes then this morning, or concluding the show, I should say. They're not the last dad jokes. There is no such thing as a last dad joke. They just keep coming like the Terminator. What's a tree without bark good for? Not mulch. Nice. I ordered a book of dad jokes. I didn't get it. Yeah, that's a true story. I gave away, and then suddenly, hours later, oh, yeah, I get it now. I gave away all my used batteries free of charge. Nice little clutch of dad jokes there. Thank you very much, T-Duck. And question of the day then, how long is the Volta a Portugal? You might be able to find that out at learnaboutportugal.com. Nearly forgot the name of my own website there, learnaboutportugal.com. Maybe see you over there chatting about that and other resolved questions. There are a few of them are just hanging at the moment in the air there, waiting for resolution. Pop over and see how good you are on Portuguese quiz questions, the language, the culture, all sorts of things that we ask questions about over at learnaboutportugal.com. Maybe see you over there in just a moment when I post up that question. Finally, ciao from Portimao then, from the Squire of the Shires. We shall see you tomorrow. Jackie popping in and some Ask About Portugal action tomorrow. See you then. Have a great day, dear friend. I can't find my outro video. Here it is. Ciao for now. Bye.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Ai!